I'm so glad to see that you're back. And I'm happy to be back too. We've got an old story today, one of those favorite old fairy tales. And this one is called Cinderella. Possibly you've heard the story before, and if this is the first time, well, then you'll have to wait and see what happens. But those of you that have heard the story before, I'm sure you remember the three ugly sisters and how nasty they were to Cinderella. This story has been retold by Nina Filipek and illustrated by Jaqueline East. Once upon a time, a girl called Cinderella lived with her stepmother and two ugly stepsisters. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters were cruel. They made her do all the work around the house, while they did nothing. Look here at Cinderella scrubbing the floors, working so hard, while the stepsisters and the stepmother are just lounging around doing nothing. Cinderella was the name they gave her because she slept among the cinders and ashes by the fire. Cinderella dressed in rags and clogs, while the ugly stepsisters wore beautiful dresses. One day, the girls each received an invitation to the handsome prince's ball. Cinderella was thrilled to hear about the ball, but her stepmother said, "You are not allowed to go to the ball, Cinderella, but you will have to help your stepsisters get ready." Oh, how awful. The day of the ball came, and the ugly stepsisters were getting dressed. "Fetch me this, Cinderella. Fetch me that, Cinderella," the ugly sisters said. Cinderella wished she could go to the ball with them. She felt very sad and started to cry. Oh, look at her, helping those ugly stepsisters get ready. They do have beautiful dresses on, don't they? And poor old Cinderella is in her dirty old tattered dress. She's not allowed to go to the ball. After they left, Cinderella continued to cry. But then something magical happened. Cinderella's fairy godmother appeared. "Don't cry, Cinderella. You shall go to the ball." Oh, wow, look, there's the fairy godmother. And she's saying, "You will go to the ball. Fetch me a pumpkin from the garden, 2 white mice from the cellar, and a rat from the yard." Cinderella found them all and placed them on the ground. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand. In an instant the pumpkin became a glittering carriage, the mice 2 magnificent horses, and the rat a finely dressed coachman. Then, with a touch of her wand, the fairy godmother turned Cinderella's rags into a ball gown fit for a princess. Her wooden clogs became the daintiest of glass slippers, and Cinderella was ready to go to the ball. "Enjoy the ball, Cinderella, but you must be home before the clock strikes 12, because the spell will be broken at midnight," was the warning that the fairy godmother gave Cinderella. Look how beautiful Cinderella looks in her ball gown. and the fairy godmother sitting there with her wand telling Cinderella she has to be home by midnight. When Cinderella arrived at the ball, she looked so beautiful that the ugly stepsisters did not recognize her. Everyone wondered who this lovely young girl was. The handsome prince danced every single dance with her, and Cinderella has never been so happy. But soon it would be 12 o'clock. Look at everybody at the ball. There is Cinderella dancing with the handsome prince. And the ugly stepsisters, over on this side, are looking at this beautiful young girl. They don't recognize her as Cinderella. They didn't think she would be there, did they? As the clock began to chime, Cinderella remembered what the fairy godmother had said, and she ran quickly from the room. The handsome prince ran after her, but all he found was a glass slipper. As she ran into the distance, Cinderella's ball gown turned back to rags, and her carriage became a pumpkin again. The white mice scurried back to the cellar, and the rat followed them home to the yard. Whoa, look at that! Cinderella's ball gown has turned back into her raggedy old clothes. And over here, the mice and the rats are no longer the footmen and the horses. The morning after the ball, the handsome prince was determined to find the girl whose foot the glass slipper fitted. He did not know her name, but he knew he loved her. He was going to visit every house in the land in search of his princess. He searched far and wide without any success, until finally he came to Cinderella's home. Look at them there. There are the two ugly sisters looking out of the window, and the prince is arriving with the glass slipper. He wants to see who fits into that glass slipper. The ugly stepsisters each tried on the glass slipper. They pushed and pushed their toes into the dainty shoe, but their feet were much too big. "Do you have another daughter?" the handsome prince asked Cinderella's stepmother. "You mean Cinderella?" laughed the ugly stepsisters. "But she only wears wooden clogs." There the ugly stepsisters trying on the glass slipper, but with no luck, the slipper does not fit them. Cinderella was called in from the kitchen. She put the glass slipper on her foot, and it fitted perfectly. "At last I have found my princess," said the handsome prince. And look over here how shocked and horrified the ugly sisters and the stepmother are. They can't believe that the glass slipper is actually fitting on Cinderella's foot. The handsome prince whisked Cinderella back to his palace, where they lived happily ever after. And the ugly stepsisters, they were green with envy. Oh, look at them there. Off goes Cinderella with her handsome prince, going to get married and live in the castle happily ever after. And over here sits the ugly sisters and the stepmother, green with envy. It sure didn't pay them to be so nasty to Cinderella, did it? And there you go. That is the story of Cinderella and the glass slipper. What did we learn in that story? So many, many things. The ugly stepsisters were mean to Cinderella. They were rude to her. They were unkind to her. And, of course, they were vain. They thought that they were the most beautiful people on earth, and that Cinderella should just be kept away from everything fun. And when the fairy godmother stepped in and made sure that Cinderella could get to the ball, she was the most beautiful princess there. And the handsome prince fell in love with her, and he was determined to find her after she'd run off at midnight, leaving behind a glass slipper. That was really a fun story. Please join me again tomorrow, because there will be a new one. And remember, I want you to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. But most of all, be sure to let your friends know that they can also watch these stories. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to our next story. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Serena. Mwah.